Nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Brand new.
Hey, we're talking brand new Joe. Hey, we're on a brand new show. Deep dives, blow by blow. Spotting Uzis and crossbows. Like a buzzball or a pogo. Got ninjas like Don Shadow. Comics are how I spend my dough. We're coming to you in stereo. It's time for Talking Joe. With Mark and Tim, here we go.
Brand new.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, coming to you once again from the far reaches of the energon universe, also known as the south coast of England. You are listening to Talking Joe, the G.I Joe comics podcast. And if you're new to the show, you can find out all about us over at our website, which is talkingjoe.co.uk. Now, as I speak, I think we're on a very round number on YouTube. Let me double check. 1298. So I want to make it our mission to tip that over to 1,300 by the end of this show. So if you are not yet subscribed, why not do that? Like and subscribe and recommend to a friend. So today we will be talking about G.I. Joe issue number 24, which was released just this Wednesday gone, Wednesday, 15th of July, 2026. Now, this issue, in the form of an official synopsis, promised the end of story arc. What is Crystal Ball's secret plan? Risk puts it all on the line for an unexpected ally, but can any Cobra agent or Joe be trusted? We will find out about the trustworthiness of all of those Joes and Cobras as we delve into the issue, but I will not be doing that by myself. As always, I'll be joined by my co-host. It's a real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark, listeners, viewers. Hello, comic book.
Hello, that's a beautiful looking comic book. We are live as at the time of being live and recording this and streaming it live, which means that if you're watching it live, you can join in. And if you're watching it or listening to it not live, you can also join in with the form of a comment, just on the recording, or joining in on our Facebook group, or leaving us a glowing 5-star review on an audio only podcast platform. So one of the cool kids joining in with us is Michael Gene Fleming. Good afternoon, y'all. I finally got caught up on all my comic reading. We met Gene at Joe Fest, and you signed his Centre Holds books, I believe, Tim.
I am pleased to and very slightly embarrassed to be signing comics that I put together and edited. That's very flattering. Thank you, Gene, again.
And here's Checkpoint Alpha. Happy Saturday, Mark. Just Mark. And Tim. Thank you, Checkpoint Alpha. Glad you can join us live. So let's get into some of the stuff that has been happening, shall we, Tim? So before we cover our deep dive into G.I. Joe issue 24, and I do want to talk about that a lot because it is a heck of an issue. But before we do that, let's have a look at what's going on all around the Skybound world of the Energon universe.
All around the Skybound world, are you looking for some G.I. Joe? There's Autobots and Decepticons and creatures from the sacred brain. All we need is energon, sweet energon. There'll be energon everywhere. There'll be robots swinging, aliens killing, and Decepticons in the streets. Yeah!
Yes, indeed. I thought a fun place for us to start would be an update on what artist Marco Fodera, friend of the show, is getting up to. He was at the Bergamo Comic Con in Italy just recently, and it looks like there are a lot of Energon Universe fans, EU Joe fans, we call them. Get it? A bit of a bit of a geography
I do
joke
get it
for you there. So there looks like there's a lot of EU Joe fans due to the Italian reprints from Salda Press. So I was just going to share a little bit of what Marco was getting up to at that particular con. So I've shared this link on Facebook. This is a beautiful image of
black and white drawing of Major Blood, underlit. He's like, they're like all the shadows are on the tops of his muscles and his head.
And so we're not going to be able to comment on absolutely every single one of these because you'll find out why in a second. Maybe you can do a little bit of a count, Tim, as we're going through. This is, I think, from a 1 or 2 day con, probably. So, Baroness.
Okay.
Looking at a bit stylings of a Kevin Nolan or Yannick Paquette in the Baroness. Duke. Destro.
Another underlit guy. This Baroness on a Transformers blank cover.
Baroness.
There's a Baroness on not a blank Transformers cover, just a piece of paper.
Cobra Commander with a broken windshield on his face, looking particularly menacing. Another Duke with a bag of M&Ms.
I think that's the. I go Baroness. Back. I think that's the sharing size. Bag of M&Ms.
It does look yeah.
And he's holding it out to us. So I've already lost count. I think we're at 11.
Baroness. An underlit Destro, Baroness and Duke, Duke and Snake Eyes, yet to appear in the Energon universe. Who's that guy?
Spoilers! He doesn't belong there. First appearance at a convention sketch.
Blank cover.
I think we're at 15.
Destro, Baroness.
Some of these, a lot of these are heads and shoulders, and a few of them are head and upper torso. There's another Cobra Commander with a crack in his faceplate. There's another Duke. There's another Duke. There's an ad for DC Comics on Facebook. There's Scarlet with a ponytail.
Major Blood,
gritted teeth.
Looks like he's got a damage to his eye thing. Oh, Transformer.
Optimus Prime on a Transformers blank cover. There's Snake Eyes again.
Who's that guy? Yeah, we don't know him. Another Baroness winning out. Judge Dredd, sort of a movie Stallone's version. Another Scarlet.
Mark, did you grab every photo that Marco Federa? Is this like...
This is literally his post. Oh, Big Barda, Duke, Major Blood, Megatron, Baroness, and back to the beginning.
Okay, I think that was 30. I think that was 30, and 5 of them were non-Hasbro Energon Universe characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if the Energon universe really is making that much of a splash in Europe or in Italy. I wonder if Marco Federa, doing recent work on the G.I Joe comic book series, that's what's most on people's mind. And he's there, right? He hasn't drawn Judge Dredd that I know of. Oh my goodness! Marco Federa chiming in live right now saying, I did more or less 40 or 45 sketches. Maybe
he's a machine. He is a convention sketching machine. I appreciate the talent, Marco. I do love an artist who can just relentlessly crank out quality sketches like those in a high pressure environment, like on the floor of a comic convention.
I also like artists that do really fast, slightly crummy sketches. Like the line is too long, or they're in a really bad mood. Or they're sort of known for like for a lack of finesse in their convention sketches. I met Eric Larson at a convention, I think in New York, 15 years ago, and he holds his pencils and pens in a funny way, and he sort of moves his hand over the paper like you're holding a mouse, clicking on a computer. And I have this like very scratchy Savage Dragon sketch, which is exactly what I wanted. And I think, it took him like 45 seconds. And I don't want to stand there for 5 or 10 minutes. I don't want to feel anxious. Anyway, let's talk about G.I. Joe.
I think that sort of muscle memory, almost like a sort of a stamp of this is the one that I know how to do. And it's going to take me approximately a minute. And so I can do like a little remark, move on to, sign it in their sketchbook or in the front of their hardcover and move on. And that's, perfect. Right, so what's going on in the Energon universe? We've got a catch-up of issue number 23 from last time. We hadn't seen this one. This is a Baroness variant by Martin Zavala. Yeah. And this was an Anaheim Fan Expo exclusive, limited to, they say, just 599 copies.
I wonder if they actually printed 600 and destroyed the last copy. I'm sorry, brought to you by who?
Brought to you by Captured Collectibles and Sweet Deeves. The pre-sale was 24th of June.
So this image is the Baroness, just her head and shoulder and both hands, and she's holding a sniper rifle up to her eye, and the scope is very, very short, and I'm getting a little bit of a like made up weapon vibe from this, or maybe it's a real weapon, but I don't know if that would be the scope used for this action. And this is very, very rendered. This is very, very, soft cheekbones and lots of different colors on her glove and her shoulder.
I think they could have probably worked a little bit more on the anatomy and perspective and a little bit less on the rendering, to be polite about it. I think the overall composition is a little bit wonky for me, but your mileage may vary. So what's up next? We've got an announcement of some Night Force reprints. So Skybound have just announced some additional reprints of the issues to date featuring the Night Force appearances, because we've had 3 issues introducing key Night Force characters. So Beachhead, Roadblock, and Shooter, not necessarily in that order. And with the Night Force versus G.I Joe sort of head-to-head that we're expecting to see in issue number 25, they're kind of amping that up with some reprints. So let's just have a run through those. So issue number 7, the introduction of Beachhead. So we've got a cover A by Andre Bressan and Adriano Lucas, with cover B, that sort of watercolored style of Major Blood, back with just one eye here because it's set before he lost his second eye, from Ito.
These are third printings.
Yes, so this one has already had the second printing with the Jason Howard background. So we're on to a third printing for issue number 7.
I think you mean the Jason Howard lack of background.
Well, yeah. So then we're on to issue number 12. It's the second printing, this time with a Jason Howard on a white background with a Night Force logo, this time spotlighting Shooter. So he shared on his Instagram some Shooter images, including the pencils for that particular one. And then we've also got a Destro from Ito. Another cool image from Ito. He's hot stuff at the moment, Tim.
Destro is holding a big pistol. Looks kind of like it's got a silencer on it. So and he's got a sword or a very tall dagger in his other hand, and his
when does a dagger stop just being a long dagger and start becoming a short sword?
That is a good question, and I suspect that certain people in weaponry might have a measurement. Diana Davis likes these covers. This one, so it's a fun comparison, these two, because both have a white background, but one of these characters is drawn with ink, and all the lines are very tight, and all the colors are basically flat, and then there's this white background. That's the Shooter one, and then the Destro one, as you said, looks like watercolor. So in addition to there being a little bit of softness on Destro's costume and his rendering, there are these wet on wet and wet on dry sort of clouds and spatters around him that evoke the reflective red light of the jewel around his neck, or a blue blob on the top that doesn't say sky, and a brown blob on the bottom that doesn't say ground, but doesn't not say those things. What they kind of say is this was painted on paper. Greg Augustin chimes in. To him, a very long dagger is a saber. And what are the other covers, Mark?
So then we are on G.I. Joe issue number 18, second printing. We've got Jason Howard with a particularly chunky looking roadblock here. I love the colors that have been used on this one. I think that the colors are actually done by Jason Howard as well. And so he's in this sort of newly designed costume that hasn't actually seen print in the interiors of a book yet. I think he might be wearing this costume. Actually, I tell a lie. I think he might be wearing it on one flashback panel. But sort of carrying as well this modern weapon that he's got, which is the replacement for his Marjuice Browning. So
here,
cover A is
here roadblock. He is illuminated with a red light coming from the left side. So on the side of his head, his collar, his arm, and a bit of his leg, there's this red. And if you saw this from far away, and since there is no background and no context, you might kind of think there's a red stripe on his pants, but that's actually he's standing near a red light. And I feel like that is a very subtle reference to Night Force. Either that Night Force's original colors were all black vehicles with those red stickers, that neon red, or that when things are dark and you have like infrared lights or like exit signs in stores, the on the visual spectrum, the color that's closest to darkness, that's least obtrusive, is red light. I'm not talking about a red light district. I'm talking about actual light that is colored red. What about that other cover, Mark?
So then we've also got another one by Ito, this time for, can you guess, Tomax Zaymot? Place your bet now.
I should know this because I had one of them as a kid and my brother had the other. We split that 2-pack. It's Tomax, right? Because he's got
Tomax.
Tomax has the symbol on his right chest.
There's no scar, and also it's the collar and the symbol are in the right places for the classified Tomax.
So we're looking up at him, and he's looking not just handsome, but sort of, I don't want to say hopeful, inquisitive, but he's sort of looking way beyond
inspirational.
But he's also looking way beyond the horizon. And whereas that Destro cover, the white background really is more the white of the paper. In this case, the wet on wet soft watercolor all around him is much more evocative of some actual physical space, whether we're inside a lab, whether he's standing under some giant lights, whether that's a mushroom cloud or an alien saucer coming down to take us all away. But this one does not read as, and that was not a criticism, by the way, this one does not read as Tomax on white paper that's got some color. This reads as Tomax is somewhere and we don't quite know when.
And, if you want to see Ito doing a fully rendered background, he just recently posted on his social medias his painting of the recent, I think it's Amazing Spider-Man cover that he did with a very detailed background with a kind of giant clone back to tank tube thing going on. And sort of incredible. Given the tools that he's using with this, the wet watercolors that are quite difficult to control, it's an incredibly rendered. So have a look out for that. So that is all of these second printings. Next on the agenda is recently out Void Rivals number 31. That came out on the 24th of June. Everything's coming up. Skuxoid in Void Rivals 31 from Robert Kirkman, Connor Hughes back on art, Patricio De Police and Russ Wooton. The Skuxoid Liberators have formed for one purpose, the downfall of Skuxoid Alpha, freeing Skuxoid kind from his tyrannical rule. It's Skuxoid versus Skuxoid for all of the marbles. And it's a sort of a fun jaunt to the side kind of one and done issue in terms of not connecting to that wider story of the Quintesson War and what's going on with the lead Void Rivals characters. But Skuxoid is such an appealing character, and I'm here for it. I love the Skuxoid story that's happening in Void Rivals.
Transformers has now had 2 entire issues that are only about Megatron. And Void Rivals has now had 2 entire issues that are only about Skuxoid. And it's fun to see in real time, although on a time delay because they're making the comics in advance, Robert Kirkman get more and more interested in this character who only shows up in 1 episode, 2 episodes of Transformers season 3. And if you have not been reading Void Rivals, I don't think this is the issue that's going to pull you in. At the same time, if you like self-contained comics, the sort of motivations and fight and story in this issue are fun and interesting. And if you don't want to worry about like, the 2 planets and are they going to meet some Transformers or G.I. Joe characters? Technically, he's a Transformers character. But if you just like a single issue where a character is fighting for his rights, do pick up Void Rivals 31.
I'm going to flick back to the Tomax one because Diana's got a great observation here. It feels like the reader is a person Tomax has just shot and they're losing consciousness or dying while he walks over them. I like this story that's being created here. And I don't think
I'm going to look at any of these Ito covers with some soft focus backgrounds the same way ever again, Diana.
And I do like these particularly these second print and third printings. Because these are kind of one and done issues to some degree, that they are self-contained, introducing or spotlighting on each one of these Night Force characters, so they can kind of be read slightly out of order as well. So it's a great one to, if you are a little bit behind or haven't been picking up all of the single issues, they are kind of great issues to kind of pick and choose and read, not necessarily in order. Right, next up in the Energon universe. We had New Comic Book Day, 8th of July, with the release of Mask number 2. Continuing the story, it was a sort of a fun, kinetic, action-packed issue. It's always striking how much action and sort of momentum is included in all of these Skybound Energon universe issues. I did think as kind of Mask issue number 1 sort of closed out, and they were trying to look for this Stargate device that they were trying to find. I was like, well, maybe they're going to trek around these frozen wastes of frozen land for an issue or so before they encounter. No, it's literally the next page. They have found it. There it is, and they're transporting it, and it's already causing devastation. So it's an introduction to the additional characters on the good guys side of Bruce Sato and Gloria Baker as they kind of deal with the threat that this Stargate has created. I'm enjoying these Mask issues a lot.
2 observations and a question. If you remember this cover to Mask number 2 from all of our discussion of the blind bag from Mask issue number 1, which maybe came with a copy of Mask number 2. That was a different comic book that had a slightly thicker cover, and it was that dull, shiny foil for the Mask number 2 sort of advanced reprint. And in that case, that version, the background was red. The regular Mask number 2 cover A that came out when Mask number 2 came out, the background color on the cover is a light aqua. Number 2, you're just talking about how much is happening in Mask and all the Energon Universe comics. This is not a criticism. I like most of Brian Michael Bendis's writing for Marvel, but the 2000s were, that first decade was very much an era when a lot of comics were decompressed and there was a lot of conversation. There might be a 4-page scene where 2 Avengers are just talking, and the dialogue was often great. And then there'd be a fight, and the Energon universe is the opposite of that. I'm holding up G.I. Joe 24. So many things happen, and like you just said, if this was an arc at Marvel 20 years ago, them looking for this space bridge, this Stargate, would be the first 6 issues. And as you just said, no, they find it. They find it in issue 2. And then a quick question for you, Mark. Can you sort of be specific and remind us the Stargate thing that Miles Mayhem finds in issue 2 of Mask? Is that specifically from Cybertron? Do we know? Is that specifically related to the piece of Cybertron that was in Destro issue 5 and in some early issues of G.I. Joe? Or do we not know?
Yeah, we don't know its origins. Given that the shard sort of landed all in one place, away from the frozen land, it seems unconnected. We did observe previously that some of the space bridge technology looked quite similar to kind of that round Stargate shape that we saw on the device on Mask. So maybe it could be that same sort of technology that we saw in Transformers with the space bridges. So indications looks like it's connected, but it's sort of left very left open at the moment.
And this thing that we're seeing on the cover to Mask #2, that the jet blade that Miles Mayhem's helicopter jet is flying away from, which is either exploding or just crackling with Kirby dot energy. Is that the space bridge, the Stargate, or is that something else?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that they were trying to transport it and it had an issue, and I think that's what they're trying to show there. On Void Rivals, I love Michael Gene Fleming's comment here. 8 years from now, the Skuxoid Horde will be instrumental in defeating the Decepticon, Cobra, Venom, Quintesson, Unicron alliance. It does sound very Kirkman-esque that he'll create this sort of this thread of a giant Skuxoid Horde, which will play into a future storyline. I'll just also call out Void Rivals issue number 32 is out this coming week, and G.I. Joe fans, particularly fans of what Pythona is doing, should be paying attention, because we're seeing lots of Pythona and Cobra La in the pages of Void Rivals when it comes to the next plot. And we've had, we'll get to it at the very end of the issue, but there's also a tease for another character being introduced on the front covers. Right, so what is next? We've got Transformers. Issue number 34 was just released. Who is Dr. Henry Arkaville? Optimus's team must help General Flag with a new mission that brings them face to face with the man who may have discovered a way for humanity to fight back against Autobot and Decepticon alike. Before I get into issue number 34, I'll just call out a particular exciting part from issue number 33, which is that Starscream is alive and has escaped from the Decepticons. So he's out there, he's functioning, he's crawling along the bottom of the ocean floor, and perhaps Duke at some point may get his revenge.
2001 Robots in Disguise fans, don't get excited. That's not Skybite above Starscream. That's just an actual shark. Didn't Megatron shoot Starscream in the face point blank? Isn't there sort of no head left? Am I getting this mixed up with Shockwave? Who
maybe Shockwave doesn't have a head. Yeah.
Shockwave's eye is now just like the neck joint on the action figure that you'd pop Shockwave's head onto.
Okay, so here's we've got Dr. Arkaville attacking Flag headbutting him, giving him a bloody nose. And then after this scene, Flag offers him the directorship of Shadow Watch. So I think in terms of Flag's recruitment policy, he's had Miles Mayhem. He's now had Dr. Arch Evil is his actual name. I think his judgment in terms of who is pointing to senior positions is certainly compromised. But yeah, another fun issue. There's a lot happening in Transformers at the moment.
Can you go back to the slide that has the cover A and the description? Yeah. This happens every couple of years, folks, with Transformers comics. Marvel, I don't know that this happened at Dreamwave. IDW and now Skybound. I'm not talking about B or C or any variant covers. I'm just talking about regular covers or A covers. Folks, it is an issue of Transformers where on the cover there are no Transformers. And that's sort of like, every couple of, with variant covers and with so many series, it happens more often. But how often when you pick up an issue of Batman or Detective or Batman Gotham Knights or Batman and Robin or a Batman Shadow of the Bats, how often do you think that there is no Batman on the cover, right? It's like just Commissioner Gordon and someone that he's arresting, or like just Catwoman and Robin looking up in the sky longingly. Anyway.
So that's the comics. We've got San Diego Comic Con coming up next week. I think it sort of kicks off on Wednesday. Some activity already starts happening. So for the comics side, there's 3 main events. There's Transformers and G.I Joe. The Energon universe is unstoppable. So that's the panel where we'll get to find out all of the latest cool comic news. We've got a panel all about blind bags, chases, and the psychology of collecting, which sounds fascinating.
I just want to go back a slide.
Also,
can I just
Robert
say this?
Kirkman live at San Diego. So this kind of the Kirkman keynote. You on this one?
So I just want to point out the middle one with the mask and the psychology of chasing blind bags. Can you go to that slide? It's sort of like, well, who would be on this panel? It's like, well, it's Michelle Waffle, who's the senior comic specialist at PSR. It's Arun Singh, who's the
what a surname, by the way, Tim. Nominative determinism. There's someone called Waffle who's on a panel talking about the psychology of blind bags.
There is Arun Singh, who's the VP, who's a VP at Skybound. There's David Nakayama, who's a cover artist. And there's Danielle Sauvé, who's a collector and influencer. And this is moderated by Caitlin Corsetti, who's senior manager of copywriting at PSR. What is PSR?
Cool.
And then can you go back 2 slides to that? It's got the 4 images, and it mentions. Okay, so this is a reminder, everyone. While we are talking so much about the Energon universe and Skybound and these 4 comic series, Battle Beast, Invincible presents Battle Beast is still chugging along, and now there are issues with backup stories that have new Invincible short stories in the back. Right, we're a couple months into that, and then the third image here in this 4-part image in this Skybound social media panel promotional image for the big convention is from Terminal Number 1, which is this new, it has been compared to X-Men by people at Skybound, and it's co-written by 2 big writers, including Kirkman, and it's drawn by 3 very, very exciting artists and colored by 1 very, very exciting color artist. And issue 1, folks, arrives 4 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 3 days from us saying this during our live stream.
And it's got issue number 1 will have a blind bag. And one of the curious things about this comic is that there are these 3 big artists. Adam Kubert, is it Andy Kubert? Andy Kubert.
Adam Kubert's still drawing for Marvel.
Andy Kubert, David Finch, and Arthur Adams, and so taking turns in arcs or whatever. So the first issue has got Andy Kubert on art. So it's a big launch, but we're only seeing art from one of the main artists. So how do you address that in your blind bag launch? Well, what you do is you release in one of the blind bags issue number 7, drawn by David Finch, and issue number 10, drawn by Art Adams. That is wild. The Skybound just go nutso with these blind bags. Alongside issue number 1, you might get issue number 7 and issue number 10, and probably more besides. I'm loving it.
I've talked about how much confidence Skybound projects in keeping their line small and focused, and their quality very high. Right? They never look desperate. Things never look rushed. And the sort of leap from the last 2 or 3 blind bags to this, right? It's like, oh, I got a blind bag, and instead of getting issue 1, I got issue 2. Like, well, that takes balls to say something a little uncouth. Man, putting in issue, what did you say, 7?
7 and 10.
7 or 10, right? Which suggests that, and I think Kirkman or Casey or one of the editors has hinted at this, that they're that far ahead, right? That they have finished, right? Drawing and coloring and lettering not just the first 2 or 3 issues, but the first, let's say, 5 or 10 issues. Okay, so enough of all this San Diego stuff. We're going to talk about G.I. Joe 24 yet?
Well, I was just going to say, while we're on the psychology of blind bags, I did prepare a little something earlier. This was recorded from Augustino's in the Augusta Marriott after one of the days at Joe Fest. So let's see how this plays into the psychology of blind bag collecting.
So, Tim, on our show,
Okay.
we have done some mask, blind bag
Right.
unboxings or unbaggings.
Okay.
But you have not had the privilege.
Oh, that's fine.
So on the show floor, I found one of these and I thought it'd be fun. And I did the flop test. This is not a floppy.
Okay.
I thought, could it possibly be? Could it be?
Issue 2 for me?
Well, no, wrong for me.
Right, if it was issue 2, I would have bought one of Mark's brother's copies because he brought 5.
And he hasn't given one to him.
That's not a bad price.
Yep. So just a little bit about cover.
$6.24. That's cover plus tax in Massachusetts, where I sell my comics, periodicals, comics, and magazines. No sales tax. I haven't opened one of these in a while. How do I? If only I'd brought my scissors.
And you do it in...
It's a blind bag, and I'm opening it in front of Mark at the bar. I wish I had scissors.
Fork it. Like that.
You're going to eat with this. Mark is going to read this comic. Some fiber. This is the part that you speed up.
Yeah. Okay.
Bags.
There you go. It's opening. A little bit fast. And
Close my eyes. It's my copy of Mask issue number 2, an ultra rare advanced edition. Thanks. There you go.
You can keep it.
Oh, thanks. I will read this before issue 2 actually comes out, and we'll see you at Joe Fest or something.
There you go.
Folks, if you think that Mark and I have pretty good chemistry on tiny windows on a podcast, several time zones away from each other, just wait until you put us filled with delicious dinner in a bar restaurant at a G.I. Joe convention, and Mark gives me a present.
Yeah, let's move on proper to this issue, which is brought to us from the creative team of writer Joshua Williamson, artist Andrea Milana, colorist Lee Loughridge, letterer Russ Wooton, editor Ben Abernathy, publication design Andres Juarez, and production Abigail Lee. So now that we've looked, looked at the credits, we can delve into the things that they stick on the front of those issues, which we call covers. Wrong jingle. Well, I'm maybe preempting something there. We could save time.
Let's have a look.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
Cover A is drawn and colored by Tom Riley. Background is completely black. We don't know where we are. Crystal ball, full body in the bottom right, standing in a bit of a green spotlight with his arms behind his waist, looking up happily at nightmarish, not holographic, real, transparentish green cosmic horror tentacles and spider legs, holding Risk, who, coming in from the top left of the cover, is trying to punch and kick and run at Crystal Ball, except he's been lifted off the ground and is being held back by these horrific arms and tendrils.
And Risk is saying, let me at him, I'll splat him.
Right. And this is a really fun cover. It's very much a match for the last two, which were various characters and dire tech in this glowing, almost translucent green with black backgrounds. And It's subtle, but I do feel like there's 3% sort of cartoony exaggeration on Risk's pose, that the way that Tom Riley has drawn Risk, that he's, stretching just a little bit further and his leg is sort of kicking or jogging in space just a little bit further to accentuate how much he's straining to get forward and how much this horror is pulling him back. Oh, look at that. Mark has just put the original artwork by Tom Riley on the cover, and there's a small difference in the artwork. The background is not inked in black. It's just been left white. So I guess the black was added at the, after the scanning and adjusting the artwork stage. But also Cristobal in the original artwork is standing on a rectangle, which either is sort of a shaft of light coming from a doorway or a throw rug.
Well, yeah, if it was going to be inked digitally and all of that white would be inked in, it would sort of give a different feel to it. It would look, I think, less like tassels and more like tapering. But yeah.
Yes, thank you. Fun cover. Cover B is drawn by Joshua Cassara and colored by Romulo Fajardo Jr. We see 4 Cobra Valkyries. One is sort of big and full body in the foreground. They're all facing to the right. They are all firing or getting ready to fire with various machine guns and pistols. The logo above them is red, matching the visor and the Cobra signal on the front Valkyrie. They're standing amidst sort of blown out vehicle and buildings with no tops, and the windows blown out, and some debris and a smoky cloudy sky. There's a power line in the background that's sort of on the fritz with electricity. And this cover, I think very incidentally, this cover reminds me of the like the connecting cover to issue number 1 that David Nakayama drew, which was like, one was Cover Girl and one was, I can't remember, Chameleon, and one was Baroness and one was a Valkyrie. But the sort of facing the right, it's a Valkyrie, and this overall color palette with sort of, urban war zone debris. This is not an homage. I think it's just a coincidence, and a perfectly fine coincidence.
Yeah. Notice how one of the leading Valkyrie has got a sort of a V, denoting that they're an officer, whereas the others have more of like a kind of a slot for like night vision gear or whatever. Yeah. Greg opted for this cover. Interesting.
Transformers, I always buy the B covers because I like that series originator Daniel Warren Johnson is drawing those.
Right.
And I do like David Nakayama's covers for A, but I see those at the end of every issue in the preview for next month. So it's kind of my way to get both. Folks, Skybound, I don't remember what Joshua Cassara has been drawing these days. He's a little bit off my radar since he was drawing one of the X titles in the Age of Krakoa, but by all means, please throw some money at him and have him draw some interiors for one of these Energon Universe comics.
Yeah, love to see that.
Cover C, which I guess this is the 6th time I've said this, is not a 1-in-10 ratio variant. It is a regular open to order cover. This is Head and Shoulders looking straight on at Stalker. This is drawn and colored by Ben Oliver with that, we've seen it before, bluish gray background, which sort of feels like a concrete wall behind them, but may not be. Stalker is looking straight at us, slightly furrowed brow, with one brow slightly cocked, and his lips are very, very slightly pursed. This is serious and focused Stalker. He's not like telling himself a joke, and he's not like thinking of an idea. He is looking straight at you, and he has a plan. And as with all of the Ben Oliver covers, this looks like a real person. I don't think this is photo referenced from a real person, but this is not a stock face, as a lot of comics artists draw, which is totally okay, by the way. This is a specific person, and it's fun that Stalker gets to be a specific person.
Yeah, I always like to have a guessing game as to who the real life reference most looks like. I can't put my finger on this one. I feel like feel like it's somebody that I should recognize, but I cannot think who it might be.
Didn't you also ask Ben Oliver on social media? Like, did you?
He said I got it wrong. Yeah, that was
was the question you were guessing? Was it this photo, or was the question, are you looking at a photo?
A bit of both, I guess. Okay. Yeah. Right. Next up is
cover D is the 1 in 25. This is drawn by Tonsi Zonic. This is almost all white. This is this cover, this design scheme that we've seen now, where there's a Joe and a Cobra. The Joe is just sort of head and shoulders in the cutout space of the vertical silhouette of their signature weapon. In this case, the Baroness within her rifle, and she's only dark blue and medium blue. And then everything around her is, it sort of looks like an Arctic scene, since it's all white with just light blue inking for the outlines on Chameleon, who's standing in, I think it's snow. And she's holding her sniper rifle down at the ready. She's looking to the right, and while she's not looking literally at the Baroness, who's not actually standing there, it's a montage, she's kind of looking right at the Baroness. And when I looked at this cover, I wondered, is that line running down the Baroness's chin from the corner of her mouth, is that blood? Like she just got punched? And then I also thought, Mark has been keeping track of that. The artists have been keeping track of both of these characters having a beauty mark on their chin. And we definitely can see the Baroness's here, but we can't on Chameleon because the way that she's turned, and that's okay. This is a very cool cover. And man, if this was on a crowded new comics rack with a bunch of everything else out this week or this month, this would pop. And if this was the main cover and I picked this up, I would be disappointed that this issue does not take place in a snowstorm outside. But I might be thrilled that it takes place in a horror-filled castle with a crazy Cobra-adjacent crazy guy.
I also have got on screen the rough for this particular one from Tonsi Zonic. Very similar. But yeah, him being him, he obviously has to make more work and draw it twice. So there we go. But keeping very much to the original idea of the Baroness against a fairly stark white background in that cutout of her signature weapon.
Cover E is the 1 in 50 ratio variant, and this is really fun because once again, Tom Riley, who is the main series artist but is not drawing this arc, is the main series cover artist, does the A cover. But on the issues that Andrea Milana draws, he gets to draw a variant cover. And once again, it's the D cover. And I don't think you have a side-by-side of A and D. But folks, the Tom Riley cover and the Andrea Milana cover really nicely sit side by side because each of them is one or two of our main characters with a black background, about the same size, fighting a bunch of this translucent, not quite transparent, green, not quite holographic physical monsters. In the case of D, you can go back to the full one if you would. In the case of D, it's Destro, left hand down, holding at bay this coiling king cobra, with fangs bared and red eyes glowing red, with his right arm up, but being held back by more of this snake. He has his, let's say, saber, and there's a gritty determination in his gritted teeth. And this one was also colored by Andrea Milana. The green of cover A and the green of cover E are slightly different, but I don't know if they were coordinating or editorial was having them coordinate at all. But like I said a month ago, it's fun that Riley gets to draw a cover where he does one image that represents the issue, and then Milana gets to draw a cover where he draws what I sort of think is like the other image that you would think of if you had to summarize the issue for a cover.
Great.
Mark, are there any retailer variant exclusive covers for this issue?
There are not, Tim. I think this could be could be the first issue. We've got to issue number 24, and it may well be that this is the first of the issues that has not got a retailer variant, at least not one called out in the credits.
Wow. I'm surprised because every issue has had some, and some issues have had a ton. Do you think this is related to gearing up for San Diego? Do you think that so Skybound attends 2 conventions a year, C2E2 in Chicago and Comic-Con International in San Diego? They don't attend Joe Fest. They don't attend New York Comic-Con. I assume sort of the not comics people, but the like brand and licensing people might attend like a brand or a licensing show. But when publishers gear up for San Diego, there's a lot to do because you're getting 2 or 5 or 10 people to drive or fly to San Diego, and there's hotels to book or maybe receipts to reimburse if they're all booking themselves separately, and lining up your slideshow and your announcements and your panel, and if you have some giveaways or some exclusive things to sell. So I wonder if in the timeline, Skybound, we do think that they make G.I Joe, pretty ahead of schedule, but I wonder if that time was taken up, or if maybe, do you think it's possible that there's going to be a surprise variant for 24 at San Diego that Skybound is selling, and they don't want to have that compete with sort of regular retailer variants? I think that's overthinking it.
Yeah, I think there's an element of, as you say, possibly it might be useful to just free up some time and sort of do some of that prep for other stuff. But also as well, we've got issue number 25 on the horizon. So it could well be that a retailer would be like, okay, I'll just like hold fire this month and do something for next month, so that I've got a bigger push to with all of that publicity for issue number 25 that might do better numbers. And
remind me, is 24 the end of an arc, or is 25?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it was 21, I want to say, was the start of this.
Start of the arc. You know what? I should have...
no, actually, no. 20. I'm getting a bit muddled now. I'm not sure.
Let me see what the Image Okay, the Image Comics website for issue 3 includes through 18. So volume 4 is going to be 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Okay, so it is the end of the arc. 25 will be the start. Yeah,
we think is the start of the next arc, and
that makes sense because it's a Night Force versus G.I Joe arc. Yeah,
and it's oversized. And the first issue of each arc for G.I Joe, Skybound has had extra variant covers, including they've gone back to blank sketch covers and those die cut wraparound ones with a face, someone's head. Yes. What next?
What next? So now that we've looked at the creators, we've looked at the covers, what we do next is we look at the insides. And the best way to do that is with a plot briefing. But before I do so, I will just warn everyone that we will be getting into spoilers. And this issue, there are spoilers aplenty. It's a big, spoilery, exciting issue. So if you haven't yet read it, you are welcome to pause and come back, or otherwise join us on the journey as we delve into issue number 24.
Watch out! There's spoilers ahead! Turn back before it's too late!
Right, so let's get into it with a plot breakdown.
Plot breakdown.
Crystal Ball goes full open kimono as he reveals himself metaphorically to risk monologuing his origin story as he battles, donned in a tentacled Cthulhu dire mask. Working as an interrogator, he worked on a new technology. He moved to Badhikistan and found energon, which allowed him to create dire tech constructs. Elsewhere, Destro and Baroness are attempting to free Chameleon and Stalker from their torture device by destroying the energon power source. As Crystal Ballroom, or whatever his name is, loses his power source, he is punched out by Risk. With Crystal Ball defeated, Baroness and Destro's truce is over and they go their separate ways. Risk brings back Crystal Ball and Mercer in chains, and Destro returns with an angry Chameleon, a Hall of Energon, and the Diatech. In his freaky test tube room, Cobra Commander asks his Valkyrie a great sacrifice. What that is, we do not yet know. Back at the pit, Risk talks to Mercer about turning to the good side. The Joe team regroups and Baroness shares her suspicions around Hawk, who is interrogating Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball realizes that Hawk is actually Zartan, leading Hawk to, wait for it, slit Crystal Ball's throat, just as Baroness walks in. Awkward. Tim, what an issue.
Yeah. Was it last month or the month before where I sort of tossed out like, oh, they're going to kill someone? Are they going to kill Risk? Like, no, I don't think so. But they killed someone. Now, they have killed Bumblebee, but it sort of looks like, the new writer on Transformer wants to bring him back. And I'm pretty sure they killed Starscream, but Starscream's fine if on the bottom of the ocean. And very upset. So it's possible that this actually isn't this character's death, that, 2 panels later in the next issue, someone wraps a bandage around him and sticks some energon ointment on his neck and puts him in a Bacta tank. And he's gonna come back in 30 issues as a very angry cyborg or something.
Yeah. I thought to myself, he is definitely dead, which leads me to think that he's probably okay.
But
because when I saw Rock and Roll die, I thought to myself, this is definitely comics twisting. He's, we're being pointed in this direction, and there's going to be a reveal for sure that he's still alive, and that didn't happen. So I'm, fully prepared for my expectations to be thwarted. But it did feel like this was a definitive killing, but
yes,
who knows? Comics.
All positing, both as a longtime comics reader and also a podcaster who needs to fill 2 hours with talking aside, I think this is a definitive murder, and that Crystal Ball is dead and he's not coming back. And I think that is exciting and bold of Joshua Williamson. Who, by the way, the other sort of interesting news, since we talk about comics, he has been announced as the writer of the new ongoing monthly Legion of Superheroes relaunch as a part of DC's Next Level, to be drawn by Hayden Sherman, who's the very, very popular artist of what I am positive is DC's number 2 selling book, Absolute Wonder Woman. Anyway, so Joshua Williamson has so many characters to work with, right? This is already... it's not a crowded book in that there are too many characters vying for action. I think Williamson has done a good job not overstuffing scenes and issues, but he has introduced so many characters. And if you include Waters and Thompson in the Destro and Scarlet miniseries, there are so many characters already in the Energon G.I Joe, and the potential for hundreds more that, just as we can keep waiting for Snake Eyes, there is no actual reason you have to introduce Snake Eyes right now. There's no actual reason you have to have Crystal Ball ever come back. And
or ever be introduced in the first place, is in the case of the Larry Hama arc, original ARA run.
Right. And
it just speaks to the wealth of the characters that I think, Crystal Ball is a great character. They've had this amazing arc with him. They've sort of really honored the character, but there's that many great characters across G.I. Joe universe and history that you can take someone off the board and it kind of doesn't matter, because there's that many other great characters you can choose from to have play a bigger role in their stead, and, frees up a space.
I also I learned this when watching the original Transformers Beast Wars in college. There's an amazing episode in season 2 where a character dies, and I won't say who in case you've never seen that series. And I immediately emailed the person who'd basically written that episode, and I said, that was amazing. Why did you do that? And his response was something like, because the character had done what he's there to do. And I thought about this every so often in long running comic series, right? It's different with movies because those are so finite. But in a comic series, when a character has fulfilled their promise, and like, you could argue like, no, there's more to do with this Risk versus Crystal Ball, or this Crystal Ball versus Mercer dynamic. But and this is not to say that Crystal Ball is a one-note character in the Energon universe, but he explains his origin, right? There's this little bit where he's not a mirror image of Risk, but Risk has this military background, and things went wrong and he turned out okay. And Crystal Ball, it turns out, has this military background, and he sort of went down a dark path. But if the point of Crystal Ball is to terrify Joes and Cobras and to introduce dire technology and to upset the balance of power, maybe you don't need him anymore. And maybe a return appearance, he would just be doing that again. It's like, well, let me put on my mask again and have some snakes and tentacles attack you. And you could argue like, well, maybe you sort of combine that with Transformers or with Void Rivals, right? But as you said in your plot summary, that technology has now gone to Cobra. So that can happen, right? Dire tech can now be bigger, or it can just return even if not bigger.
Or change.
Yes.
You transformed. Cool. Where should we go next? Should we do a bit of, should we start the beginning? I mean, before we do that, maybe I'll. This was an interesting issue. It felt like a lot happened, and there's a few distinct things that happen. There's the crystal ball sequence, which takes up the bulk of it. We're then back with Cobra Commander and his Valkyrie. We're then back at the pits, and we're getting a bit of a recap and a regrouping of the Joes, and then we're in this interrogation room, and it felt like almost like there was just multiple sort of false stops to the issue. It's like, okay, that's probably oh, right, there's more. Oh, there's more. It felt like a very full issue, and I was kind of getting more than almost I expected I would out of just a regular issue, that we got these extra beats at the end of this exciting adventure.
Yeah, almost all these issues are 20 pages. Every so often there's an extra page or a couple of extra pages, and the cover price goes up. And I'm always aware when I'm 2/3 of the way or 3/4 of the way. It's like, all right, is this my last page turn? Am I going to get to the final page shock that Skybound generally does? Like, oh, I've got one more, right? And this issue had 2 of those in a row. So this issue didn't feel like it was longer than normal, but a lot was going on, and I appreciate a comic, because comics are expensive. That feels like I'm getting my money's worth. I want to go to the first page. There's something that I appreciate here, and it's really subtle. On the second panel of the entire comic book, after Risk demands, "Who are you?" while slashing with his sword, Crystal Ball says, and it's italicized, right? And it's bold. So he's really yelling, right? "I am the 7th son of the 7th son." And it hadn't quite occurred to me that this would be something that Crystal Ball might brag about, that this is something that means something to him and is important, and we should be impressed by or scared of. Because when you read the original file card, it's sort of isn't it the first half of the sentence? It's like, born the 7th son of a 7th son. Crystal Ball was born at midnight during a full moon, right? With a werewolf howling or something. And it's more sort of informational and a little spooky, but just sort of interesting. And here he's proclaiming it like, haven't you heard of this? Right? It's almost like, as the legends foretold, I am the seventh son of the seventh son. And so suddenly, if the original
leaving his own hype.
Yeah, but if my original experience of buying and owning Crystal Ball, right? The painting, which is great. He's got these crazy eyes and he's got this fun, very small, gimmicky accessory. And he does not come with a pistol or a backpack, right? And you think, like, as a kid, it's like, oh, I'm going to have him hypnotize some Joes. And my brother, because we would play together, and he was always into the more realistic stuff, right? The Joes who were more, their uniforms looked more like what someone actually would wear, and a little less of like the alley viper who, even if it's urban camo, it's just bright orange and you can see them a mile away. And then particularly something like Crystal Ball. My brother was not going to like buy a Crystal Ball and have his Crystal Ball figure hypnotize the Joes. And I was into that. And I was going to like wiggle his lenticular shield and actually hypnotize a Joe. And suddenly with these 3 issues, as with Raptor, Joshua Williamson has leveled up significantly the sort of stakes and scariness, the threat of these Cobra characters. And that's really fun.
There's another parallel to Raptor as well, because we get this big expository monologue, a whole page, which is Crystal Ball in beautiful green text, telling his backstory, and there's a parallel back to another Andrea Milana page from that arc where the Baroness is and CoverGirl are up against Raptor on the streets of Paris, and we get a full length page with these kind of expository panels and Raptor telling his backstory. So there's a real kind of parallel to how they kind of reveal about their backstory, and it's done in with a lot of fun, and I'd almost like it to be a trope that every time we see a future Cobra introduced, they'll have this single page monologue with flashbacks to their past, which I think leads us. So we've got basically an initial 3-page sequence where Crystal Ball is kind of monologuing and unveiling his past. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if we can get a dramatic reading, Tim, of someone who really knows their stuff to reenact this sequence for us? And so, without too much introduction up front, I'll just play. I'll play this sequence.
I am the 7th son of the 7th son. It means I was destined for greatness. You may call me Crystal Ball. But once I was like you, a tool. For years I worked as an interrogator for the American industrial complex. Just another cog in the great war machine. But that was not my true passion. Ever since I was young, I was obsessed with the secrets in our minds and how to uncover them. I studied ways to force them out. I clandestinely worked on a new kind of technology that could do just that. But an agent of evil tried to steal it from me. I managed to escape the States and came to Buttixtan. Here, I was able to experiment in peace. The citizens thought it was ghosts. Everything changed when I found power buried deep within the mountains. I'd heard whispers of it. Different locations around the world. A swamp, a desert. I later learned it was called energon. It changed everything. It allowed me to create my dire tech. D-I-R-E. It's a dread-inducing responsive energy. It makes more sense if you're reading it. At first, I used it to turn the fears of this small-town citizens into reality. Powered by the energon, it creates constructs that answer my every command. As Mercer understands, you see. No mumbo-jumbo, just science.
Folks, if you're listening and not watching, that was voice actor Frank Todaro, who is a friend of mine from many years back at SpotCon and the official Transformers Collectors Convention. Frank Todaro, if you have the Cold Slither album that was released this year, Frank Todaro does a little bit of Cobra Commander dialogue at the very beginning of that album, and played Starscream and one or two other roles in the Netflix 18-episode Transformers animated trilogy that was on 5 years ago. Frank Todaro does a great Cobra Commander and does a great Starscream. And Mark and I had been talking a little bit in the last few months about maybe asking him to do a little bit of dialogue. And this is a surprise. I did not know that Mark had asked Frank Todaro to record this. And as much as I wanted to do an entire page monologue in my middling impression of what's his name?
Vincent Price.
I yield to a professional who is not just a professional voice actor, but an excellent professional voice actor. So what a fun surprise.
And also fan of Vincent Price as well. So he's got I think this is an air freshener in his car, a Vincent Price air freshener. I've seen him post on Facebook collecting Vincent Price toys and so on. And so I asked him, I left it up to him. He's the professional, but I mentioned that we've been trying to channel Vincent Price. I also felt like there was a bit of Burgess Meredith, voice of Golobulus kind of in there in the mix as well. But it was absolutely glorious, and I think one of the high points of doing this podcast was getting that dramatic reading back from Frank. Greg Augustine points out, I feel like I'm huddling around the radio in the 40s, listening to a serial drama.
I should also say that while I think of Frank Todaro as a voice actor who's done a tiny bit of G.I. Joe work and a small but important amount of Transformers work, he also played Starscream. There was that theatrical limited release 2 years ago of the first 3 episodes of Transformers in movie theaters. And the first episode had a live table read of surviving voice actors like Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, and then 1 or 2 newer, younger people to take the roles of characters whose actors are no longer with us. And very smartly, the people in charge of that performance hired Frank Todaro, who is like our generation, to play Starscream. But in addition to this little bits of Transformers and G.I. Joe, he's also an accomplished voice actor who's done video games and shows that I don't talk about on a G.I. Joe comics podcast. So if you are a casting director and you need to throw some money at a voice actor who will do a great read for you, think of Frank Todaro.
And Frank will be at San Diego Comic-Con, being very busy. He will be at the official G.I. Joe panel as well. He's been doing some wherever there is new content, essentially, with Cobra Commander's voice, whether that's video games or promos or for Hasbro, video game companies. toy retailers like Big Bad Toy Store recently did an unveiling of the hooded Cobra Commander with a fantastic little stop motion video, and Frank lent his voice to that Cobra Commander. So wherever you see Cobra Commander, in voice form, it's likely to be Frank doing that voice. So it'll be interesting to see what part he plays at the G.I Joe panel at San Diego Comic Con, and he'll also be doing other things like the Cuphead show, the Transformers concert, and various other signings and panels.
9 panels and signings. Frank Todaro is going to have a very busy Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Comic-Con International. Let's get back to this comic.
Very good. Yes, so we were in mid monologue from Crystal Ball, giving the full lowdown of his background. So we kind of get a hint as to someone trying to steal his technology. I think I immediately looked at that and guessed that possibly that was meant to be Zartan. But so he's been working for the American Industrial Complex. I think that's meant to be American Military Industrial Complex. I had a suspicion last month that maybe he might have even had some interactions with Flag, although that's not necessarily completely called out. So he takes his technology, runs away to Bad Hickistan. He finds the energon, what he says. I later learned it was called energon. So he must have learned from somebody as to its name. Again, maybe it's Flag. And allowed him to create his dire tech, dread-inducing responsive energy. And then we're back to it.
So, all right. So my 2 thoughts on this big page 2 and 3 monologue. It's funny that I said, Joshua Williamson in 2025 and 2026 writes comics so differently than, to pick one example, Brian Michael Bendis did in 2005. Because here's a page that's either a splash page or a big montage that's just filled with someone narration monologuing, which feels very Bendis. And
though it doesn't feel overly cluttered, and it's only when you read it, you hear it being read out loud, you realize actually how long, if you're speaking those words, that it would actually take. I think your ear and your eye take things in slightly different ways.
I slightly disagree, because on the first page of this comic, I was like, 4 panels, / punch / and then he says, but once I was like you, and I turned the page and I thought, they're still fighting and he's saying all this. And then I immediately imagined you and I in front of each other at Joe Fest, very lightly making fun of this, where we would pretend to be fighting, but also one of us would be saying all this. And I like this comic. I like this page. I like this origin. I like this flashback. I'm fine with all of it. It's great. But I was a little bit taken out of it because it's not like Risk is tied up and Crystal Ball is pacing back and forth and saying, I was this, I was that. He's like grunting and slashing and parrying and jumping and ducking and turning, and he's saying all this. And that feels a little silly and a little unrealistic. And I understand this is a comic with aliens and realism is on a scale. So I thought it was a little silly and it did take me out of it, but I'm okay with that. And as I read this page, I thought, as long as it doesn't happen over a second page, and then it keeps happening over the second page.
Can I give a contrast? Can I give a quick?
At least by the third page of the comic, the second page of this monologue, they're no longer punching and kicking and slashing.
Yeah, and it turns slightly more into a dialogue. And I guess as a contrast to the Michael Bendis sort of style of writing, that we're not sort of seeing photo stats of talking heads at a table, with the reuse of the panel multiple times. It is a lot more sort of dynamic than that. It's not people just sat talking, which was a bit of a hallmark.
Yes,
this isn't the Brian Michael Bendis podcast, so let's not linger too much. Okay. But
it's not that every one of his long dialogues and monologues was only copied and pasted panels. I thought that this this little silhouette on page 2 of an agent of evil coming in the doorway, and we don't know who it is, right? We can't tell from their silhouette. They don't have any particular shape that says, oh, that's a certain character, and there's no identifying like weapon. I thought we would not, and then sort of flipping back to what I was saying, that Williamson and Skybound sure pace their stories very quickly, and a lot has happened in these 24 issues. Hey Tim, when you're gonna learn who this mystery agent of evil silhouette is from page 2? On page 16.
Yeah.
And then it made more sense a page or 2 later when Cristobal is murdered, because this is as I said, this is the end of his story. He has nothing else to do. His props, his tech have things to do.
Yep. So we get, there's a little detail on this page of Risk, which is on the body armor of this sort of Diatech version of Risk Zombie. You can see on this sort of chest, this what do you call it, like flak jacket, whatever. There's a couple of letters on his teammates. Previously, it showed the word police, whereas here we've got something A. So I think that is spelling out CIA. So I believe this is kind of pointing to the fact that he was working as a CIA agent overseas on this particular mission, rather than necessarily being embedded in the British police, and making that plot aspect a little bit clearer.
I appreciated at the end of this monologue, we're on page 3 here, that Cristobal says, "My work is more than just some machine. It peers into your mind and turns your fears into something real." I appreciate it because I was still thinking like, no, this is a hologram, right? I know it's sort of not a hologram in the last 2 issues. And then this is sort of backed up a few pages later, 2 pages later exactly, when the Baroness says, "Whoever controls this place must not like us messing with their tech." And Destro says, as she shoots one of the green snakes, and Destro says, "These creatures are not real, Baroness." And then on the next panel, you see these 2 sort of, I guess, smoking bullet holes in the snake that the Baroness just shot. And so you may feel that this is sort of a little bit overly expository on the part of Cristobal back on page 3, but I appreciate that he's making it concrete for everyone. For me, like, these aren't holograms, these aren't hallucinations. They're real and they're physical, and they come from your mind. And if part of me is like, yeah, but how does that work? It's like, no, it's energon, Tim. It's a science fiction comic. It's energon. It's Chinatown. it's Chinatown, Tim. Jake, it's energon.
And I guess the bullet holes that get shot in this snake, I guess it's not a real snake, so shooting it between its eyes into its snake brain isn't necessarily going to kill it, because it's not a snake, it's a dire construct. And also these sort of smoking bullet holes show underneath there's a purple glow of some sort, so it's like, I guess, highlighting that there's an energon powering that. But to the previous page,
because then Destro continues. He says, "These creatures are not real, Baroness." And you see that panel where the 2 bullet holes are smoking, and as you just said, it's pink. And then Destro continues, "My guess is that they're energon constructs." And as he's saying that, in a caption box, the camera flashes over to the tank with the energon crystals. All right, sorry, you were saying.
So they were attacked as they were investigating this torture device that Chameleon and Stalker have been plugged into, and there's this interesting little inset of 2 panels of into, I guess, the minds of these 2 characters. We've got Chameleon looking quite strange. She's sort of holding her head, and it looks like maybe her hair or her wig is coming away, and underneath her face it's looking like there's like robotic technology sat there underneath. And she says, "He'll kill me if he finds out," which is interesting. So I think we've previously had a hint that there's more to Chameleon than just a regular human. That in Destro issue number 4, she talked about this fluke technology that her father had installed in her, like a sort of electro pulse kind of protection stuff. And I guess this is pointing us towards the fact that has had a significant impact on her physiology that underneath her, human appearance, that maybe there's a lot more going on underneath. But this sentence, he'll kill me if he finds out.
Yeah.
Who will kill her and finds out what?
Is that her dad? Is that Destro? Is that Cobra Commander? Is that Globulus? Is that someone we don't know yet? Presumably, she and Destro have been physically intimate and fully naked with each other. And so if she has any robot parts, or it's just like code or something really subtle, a doctor exam or a lover exam would not reveal that, right? So what we're seeing here is very much an exaggeration of her worst fear. It's not a peek into sort of, she's a cyborg. She's not a cyborg. And then you pointed out
we don't know for sure that she's a cyborg.
Okay, that's right. And then you pointed out that this second panel, and we're on page 4 here of the whole issue. Panel 3, page 4. Stalker is sort of falling backward, and it looks like not bandages, not vines. It's a little hard to tell. I don't think it quite matters. But things are grabbing him, and he's falling back, and his clothes are torn, and he's screaming, as you said, "No, not the jungle again." And I could have used one more tiny cue that it's Stalker. I see that his skin is darker than everyone else. It's sort of hard to tell when he's like in an orange scene. I see he's got a mustache. Wish I could like also have his beret in that panel, but at the angle we can only see a tiny bit of it. So for a second I was like, that's not Risk. It's like, I know from the logic of the scene, these two characters are strapped into the machine.
Immediately, yeah.
Yes, but if it wasn't that orange, if it was like, oh, his green camo, I'm only 90% sure that that's Stalker. Are you going to circle something so I know for sure?
No, I've got. This isn't a good color. Let's do that instead.
Oh, it's claws. Claws are grabbing at
it. Yeah. I don't know how clear it is on the. But there's these look like hands here.
Okay, yeah.
And this one particularly has got giant glory. Yeah,
long fingers and long fingernails that are very sharp. Okay, I did not catch that until now. I think what we're getting here is the first reference in the Joshua Williamson G.I Joe continuity for Stalker to something that will be familiar to the Stalker backstory in the Larry Hama Real American Hero continuity, because no one's going to say Vietnam anymore. And I don't know that that this Stalker and other characters who have yet to join G.I. Joe yet in the Energon universe, like served together in some past special mission or war. But Stalker isn't saying like, no, not the factory, or like, no, not jail, or no, not the urban jungle, because I was a warlord of a street gang, like back home in the States. Like, this is not that. But the word jungle, and maybe it's South America and not Southeast Asia. But I can't help but look at a panel of Stalker in any continuity where he's having upset feelings and he says jungle, and not think, oh yeah, all the flashbacks that Hama wrote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not saying this is not the jungle of Vietnam where I was in the LLRP with Tommy and Snake Eyes. He's saying an unspecific jungle, an unspecific time, and the sort of the horror, or the real horror that he experienced, or the amplified horror of this memory through the diatech that he's having turned into a nightmare. Who quite knows? But it's this is being done with some intent and some purpose. So something has happened, traumatic in Stalker's past. So yeah, it'd be interesting to find out a bit more about that.
Okay, in the next
David says Crystal Ball is Freddy Krueger bringing your nightmares to life.
Oh yeah. Can we go back to page 2 for just 1 second? The top panel. I really love in the flashback before he has his bad guy costume that Crystal Ball has a vest with, I don't know what you call it, but it's that like
a waistcoat with fancy.
But it's that particular like pattern,
like paisley or something.
Yeah, but I don't think of it as like fancy rugs and couches where it's not like printed on, it's like actually sewn in as, I don't know what the words are.
Anyway, back to pages 4 and 5. I'm okay with this. I think this is asking me to take a little bit too big of a leap. That Baroness has said, we have to turn the machine off, and Destra says, no, that will kill them. And then Destra says, but we can destroy the power source.
Which is definitely different to
right.
Down
and it's like, okay, well, let's say I'm sitting at a television, and the television is like zapping you, right? It's like, well, I could turn the TV off, or I could like unplug the TV, or I could like run outside to the power substation and blow up the power substation and no more power comes to the TV. Or I could like take a gun and shoot the TV, or it's like, well, like the like cord that's going from the TV to you, like for the headphones, like I could snip that with scissors. It's like, Destro, how do you know? And as I read it, I thought, all right, well, this is a little silly and sort of imprecise and overly precise at the same time. But it's a fun comic. I like everything about it, so I'm going to let it go. But I do think that I would have preferred more of an explanation, or something like, oh, they like turned the crank on this machine and it didn't do anything. And then Destra says, okay, well, we have to destroy the power. I'm just going to say it. This is a little dumb. I'm sorry. I really like Joshua Williamson. It's so kind of him to be on our show. This little bit of logic that Baroness and Destra has, it's a little dumb.
Okay. So we're back. We're with Baroness and Destra fighting the diatech.
You mean flirting?
Before we're back with Risk and Mercer, who are having a kind of bromance of their own. It feels like, Mercer, great little bit of line of dialogue. I'm on your side, Crystal Ballroom, or whatever your name is. Let me down. We can do business. And he says, I am on no one's side but my own, Mercer.
That might be a little hint. I mean, not really. That he's not going to survive this story. That he's not going to get to be. When I read that,
with others.
When I read that, what I actually thought was, oh, Williamson has said how between Cobra and G.I Joe and the Dreadnoks, you have more factions and really playing up the factions element. And then we have G.I Joe. It's sort of G.I Joe regular and G.I Joe Night Force. And I thought, oh, is Crystal Ball and Diatech going to be a faction? I don't, on this page, I thought, well, Williamson's not going to bring Crystal Ball back in like 5 issues or 10 issues and do another mini horror arc, but he'll be around. No, he's dead. I liked this scene on the following page where Risk conquers his fear and physically sort of kills the Diatech manifestation, the evil zombie version of him, but at the same time,
perhaps he kills his own guilt as well.
Well, what's also happening on this page, and the final panel of the previous page, is that while fighting himself, Risk is also monologuing. So he gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 word balloons worth of dialogue where he is explaining not so much to Crystal Ball, but to you and me, Mark, sort of how he feels like, no, boarding school and my parents and military and like, I'm a winner. And I liked this speech, but I also thought this is conspicuous motivational exposition during a fight. And I wish the staging had been a little different. Like, he and Crystal Ball are tied up together, or he's got Crystal Ball in handcuffs or something. Because this was almost as conspicuous as the Frank Tadaro monologue for Crystal Ball.
I am the Risk. So we got a couple of comments in the chat. Michael Jean Fleming says perhaps doing damage to the stuff physically surrounding them is dangerous, while just cutting the power would be okay. I guess, well, maybe in that direction, doing something that's nearby and more immediate. Perhaps there's something there. Whereas doing it something a bit more remote, maybe.
I mean, here's a reverse analogy. When you have a hard drive plugged into your computer, you're supposed to like tell the computer that it's dismounting the hard drive, and you shouldn't just go unplug the hard drive because that's bad for it. All right. Anyway, keep going.
And David T. Allen, voice of Joe Fest, says Poltergeist has this idea, Tim. I'm not 100% sure exactly which idea that is, but yes, something there. And then the next page was maybe perhaps a bit of a confusing moment for me of the issue. We've got Crystal Ball in his Cthulhu mask and his Diatech sword, doing a fwash across Risk's back, and it feels like this is an almost killer swipe of this sword. And the reaction with, Risk's eyes being wide open in sort of shock as he is cut across his back, makes it feel like this is quite a severe blow being dealt. But then there isn't really any follow up to that, such a dramatic sword strike in the rest of in the immediate panel, or indeed apparently the rest of the issue. So it felt like there was a little bit of a disconnect between the two. There's this strike and then the follow-up.
Yes, I had the same reaction. And when this panel happened, I thought, oh man, Williamson's killing Risk. Because it's almost half a page. That's a definitive strike. It's a sword. It's not a dagger. And Risk has this reaction. But then I thought, well, he's wearing a bulletproof vest. And what I really needed was two different things happening in the next panel. I needed the next panel to be much closer on Risk so we could see his back and a slash in his armor and like no blood coming out or a little bit of blood coming out and him like leaning forward and putting his arm around to his back to sort of reach for the slash or the wound. Or I need this first panel to him not be so surprised, but him to just sort of be gritting his teeth and taking it. Like when you're wearing a bulletproof vest and someone shoots you, you get a bruise and you get knocked down, but the bullet doesn't go through the bulletproof vest and it doesn't draw blood. And this really nice inking on Andrea Milana's part, this diagonal, the actual swoosh under the sound effect behind the word balloon, that is both speed lines. And it's not red, it's not blood, but kind of feels like it wants to be blood. And so these two panels I thought were sort of unclear and a disconnect between story and art, or an unfair sort of trick on the part of the writing where it's like, you think he's dead? Well, he's not. And as I zoom in, there does seem to be a little bit of a suggestion of a cut across his back, or I guess against the bulletproof. It's 2 millimeters long and it's colored dark gray. So also I don't sure.
So yeah, I mean the easy enough explanation for me to live with is that he is wearing a bulletproof vest and that protects him from this sword strike. But in terms of the storytelling here, that sort of doesn't completely work in terms of the comic storytelling logic.
I think what's really happening is that Risk is on the previous page, so in his own personal story, his flashback, giving us this exposition, and then it builds to that final panel where he snaps the neck of zombie Risk, and
it's a bit of a wake-up call. It's a bit of a
sword slash is a surprise and shakes him out of it. I think that's what's supposed to be communicated, and that requires maybe a slightly different pose on the part of the attacker and the attackee and the expression. So we're not too far off. This is not like you have to redo the whole page. This is like, I think you need to redraw one pose or one expression in one panel. So speaking of unclear art storytelling, one page later, Destro has said, I'm going to go break the machine. I'm going to go take out the power source. And we've got this 9-panel grid, and it's very exciting and fast-paced. There's, green attack, and then Baroness defense, and a Risk attack, and then Destro doing something and I don't know what it is. And then the like tanks of energon cracking and spilling, and then Destro's running away from the explosion. And then in panel 7, Crystal Ball's like, what? No! And then the green stuff is about to hit the pink stuff, and I think we're gonna get a big explosion. And he looks at us and says, what have you done? Okay, let's go back to panel 4. Can you zoom in on that? This is the panel where Destro says, patience, my dear Baroness, be ready to run. I can't tell what Destro is doing here. And from all the context, I understand that he's disabling the power source, but I can't tell if he's pressing a button, turning a crank, if he punched and he's smashing a control panel. I mean, doesn't he have rockets on his wrist? Couldn't he have fired those? Is he pulling a cord and snapping it? So I need like some speed lines or a different pose on his arm. It's like his elbow has to be down, but his fist is up because he's elbowing it. And as soon as I got to this panel, I was really bummed out because in some ways, this is the sort of dramatic peak of the whole issue, right? Like this is what's going to set up the big explosion. Everyone's going to have to run away from the base because all action movies end with the bad guy base blowing up, including some episodes of G.I. Joe. And in a very general sense, I understand what he's doing. Actually, both of his arms are down. Mm-hmm, so is he tearing? Can't tell.
Yeah, it's like pulling a wire or something. And to some degree, I don't know that. For me, don't know that it matters particularly. I know that he's interfering enough with this machine that it's shutting down.
So everyone, if you're watching the episode, not listening, I'll just act out a pose in my little window here. So right now, Destro's like this. He's kneeling by the machine and his arms are down, and some white crackling light are in front of his hands, so we can't see what his hands are touching. A button, a control panel, a lever, a wire, several wires. But what if the panel were him? Now I'm turning around and I'm hunching over, and we can see both arms up by his head, and he's like pulled a wire, and the wire is snapping. Right. So I'm sorry, this panel is not clear, but all the art in the issue is great, and every other panel is clear except for the one where Risk gets slashed. And this is a bummer because as much as I like Andrea Milana's art and storytelling, and he's been on the show, and it's very generous of him to give us his time, I do feel like every other issue of his, there's like one panel where I either can't quite tell what's happening, or as with this sword slashing Risk thing, the sort of specificity of the violence is a little misleading. And I wish at Skybound they could fine tune this. And I don't know if it's language barrier because Milana's in Italy, or if this is like editorial and it's like, oh, we caught this and we don't have time to like have a slight change in the panel. But this doesn't happen in Transformers, and it doesn't happen in Void Rivals, and it doesn't happen in the other G.I. Joe series. So this is a small thing, and it's seemingly spent a lot of time on it. But and yes, from the context, I do understand what's happening. But part of this is that I would like the joy of seeing Destro do something specific, either firing his wrist rockets or okay, here's a G.I. Joe example, everyone. In G.I. Joe the movie, the animated one from 1987, when the BET is activating all the spores that are in orbit, and Globulus is going to win and mutate all of humanity, and Falcon gets over to the BET and he hops into the seat, and there's a shot of his hands on the control panel, and he pushes a couple buttons, right? Or am I getting that mixed up? Does Duke do that at the beginning? I don't remember. But there's a specific shot where someone's hands like touches some buttons in a sequence on the BET control panel, and it's like bloop, 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 bloop. Right? Hooray, we won. And Destro's smart and he builds weapons. And I just want to know what he's doing specifically here. Okay, enough of that. What's next, Mark?
My memory is Serpentor flies into it and it blows up or shuts it down. Anyway, I don't know. You've probably watched it more than me. David sort of specified that what he was talking about, Poltergeist, was that it was when ghosts are in the TV and unplugging it doesn't work.
That's great. Thank you, David T. Allen.
So we get speaking of depowering, the Diatech does depower. His Crystal Ball's Cthulhu shield sort of shuts down. His Diatech mask disappears, leaving his face ready and open for a sock to the face from Risk. Boo and crack, and a nice bit of cartooning for that. The level of the impact in Crystal Ball's face, and we get a nice puffy eye later on in the issue, sort of, I guess, indicating that this has really been quite a crack to the face. And then we get the uncoupling of Baroness and Destro. We work well together, Baroness. Said right next to Chameleon there. I agree, but all good things must come to an end as they're in a bit of a standoff, weapons drawn at each other, and then they back down. And Stalker asks, Baroness, why did you let them escape? They helped us. And Chameleon asks a slightly different question. Why did you let them live, not escape? And he says the same. They helped us.
I like these two, I guess it's 4 wordless panels at the top of this page that it really is a standoff. I don't think they see it that way because he's smiling on the top.
She's smiling.
This is page. Yep. Where
They're enjoying the moment.
He's smiling, looking one way. She's smiling, looking the other way. And then the camera pulls back and we're looking down at all 4 of them, 2 on one side, 2 on the other. And in that panel, this third one that we're looking at right here, under the wordless panel of Destro smiling, it's pretty subtle, but Destro and Chameleon are starting to back away in that third panel. And I think Mark's going in for a zoom in. And then the next panel, Baroness, it's very small. Baroness has put her weapon down and Stalker is not holding a weapon, but still just standing there. And my only regrets for this issue is that we didn't get to spend a little bit more time with Chameleon and with Stalker having such a hard time. And I understand it's a spotlight for Risk and we get his backstory, and I don't think this needed to be 4 issues, but I just want to know about all these characters and their past, victories and pain. And we did get 1 panel of a tease for each of them, Chameleon and Stalker, but I want more. I want more.
Yeah, I'm sure we will get follow up on the sort of the breadcrumbs that have been laid down from that particular sequence. So Stalker and Baroness want to get out of Dodge. Hawk is not going to be happy that the mission was a bust, but then Risk comes in with this.
Go back a page. On that bottom panel, tell me about Baroness and Stalker's body language. Why are they crawling on the ground? Because a minute ago they were standing in front of the machine, and then the next panel, Chameleon and Destro are running out. So I sort of assumed that Stalker and Baroness would also run out, maybe in a different direction. But all of a sudden, like, she's kneeling and Stalker's all the way on the ground, as if they're super tired or like climbing up a hill. But based on the perspective of the helicopter, this is not a hill, this is the ground. And also in the foreground, all the way on the right, is Risk's leg and steel toe shoe.
Yeah.
So
I think they're probably you're missing something, and that's fair. I guess they're probably crawling out of some sort of access tunnel back up to the surface.
We were underground? I thought we were in the mountain. Weren't all those? Wasn't like the village was sort of on the side of a hill?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is this is subterranean, where they have been. I wondered initially whether there's some sort of missing explosion that they've kind of jumped down onto the ground to get away from. But I think the climbing up out of an access funnel of some description probably makes the most sense. Okay. But yeah, I love this reveal panel that the Risk is sort of shown up triumphantly with the.
Okay.
Oh, there.
Sorry.
Yeah. We see the.
So all right. So what we need, you turn the page and we see Crystal Ball, Risk, and Mercer, and in the foreground, Stalker and the Baroness kind of supporting each other. And there's some like dark stuff. Oh, there it is. Okay. It's very dark. They are coming out of like a manhole, like a sewer manhole. And there's even like a sewer manhole cover. Okay. That's something where I feel like if there was a little less black ink and sort of foliage blocking it, if the color was a little brighter, if the angle, we were a little bit higher looking down in it, it's there. I take it back. It is clear. It's not unclear. I would just say it could be a little clearer. All right. Sorry, I interrupted you. Mark, you were saying how much you like this page turn reveal. Yeah,
because we kind of like forgetting about Mercer and Crystal Ball to some degree, and we're just thinking about the Joes escaping, and it hadn't necessarily even crossed my mind that the Risk might capture these two guys and take them back with him. So it was a great reveal to actually see the surprise of Risk triumphant with his two prisoners literally in chains here. That was a fun surprise for me.
I agree. I agree with how you just phrased that.
And then we sort of get the counterpoint to that, really, which is under Springfield at the Cobra headquarters, Destro and Chameleon are returning, and there's the somewhat hilarious aspect of Destro saying, "Hold on and let me explain. Chameleon, Astoria, answer me." And she is not happy about all of this sort of chemistry between Baroness and Destro. Who knows what they've been discussing on the flight back to Springfield.
Or not discussing anything.
Steely silence. And we've got these various crates sort of being unpacked. Cobra Commander, calling it as he sees it. Lovers quarrel.
Wait, scroll up just a little bit. Mark is on the second panel underneath where it says Cobra headquarters under Springfield. Look at the body language on that one Viper who's pulling that cart, that crate. From the top of the panel right next to the chameleon word balloon. Right, that is a really heavy crate. That's great. This is not like those Star Wars, crates where they can just push them because they got a little anti-gravity thing to make them float. All right, what else about this page?
We're with Cobra Command, and he's sort of ready to be all upset with Destro. That he's got a mission failure, and then we get the reveal essentially that he has returned with not just energon, but also all of Crystal Ball's dire technology. It converts fear into a weapon. So we've got this dire tech now in the hands of Cobra. They've got the files on it, the data. Destro immediately thinks about selling it to the highest bidder. Okay. Cobra Commander has different ideas.
Best line of the issue. I feel like maybe so the obvious best line of the issue is when Risk says, "Because I am the Risk," as he conquers his fear and snaps the neck of zombie Risk, right? I think that line might
I don't think anyone's picking that as their favorite line.
And I think that line might
maybe Joshua Williamson
might remind you of a similar line from a highly regarded cable television series. But actually, the best line of this whole issue is on this page. What you were just referring to. Destro says, "We have all this tech. It's a different kind of weapon, one that I believe we can sell to the highest bidder." And Cobra Commander is looking down at Crystal Ball's crystal ball, which has a skull in it, is glowing, and has little octopus snake tentacles around it. And Cobra Commander, who can't do facial expressions because he's got a silver mask, but we can project a lot onto that when he's just looking at something based on context and dialogue. He says, or not. That's great.
Cobra Commander, who let's not overlook, is trying to bring cummerbunds back into fashion here as well.
I'm going to sell my cummerbund to the highest bidder.
And then I think this next page might be my favorite page of the issue. This is creepy as hell. You've got Cobra Commander in his laboratory experimentation room with these Cobra troopers in their tubes with, all sorts of, body horror nastiness happening to them, with the Valkyrie looking up at them. We've got the striking red eye and the blonde hair like an albino rabbit.
It's that particular Valkyrie that you were so curious about, that we were so curious about from issue 21.
Yeah.
And in case you don't know, in Williamson's dialogue, Cobra Commander reminds us all which Valkyrie this is.
Your cunning and bravery in our attack on the Arashikage temple should be rewarded.
I ask for no reward, Commander, only to be your servant, to fight and kill in your name.
That is why I need you. Why I must ask of you a great sacrifice.
I would do anything for you.
I will hold you to that. Don't be afraid.
And I think the obvious reaction to Cobra Commander saying that is to be afraid.
Mark is
very afraid.
Mark is zooming in on the final panel of this page, where we are looking up at Cobra Commander from the point of view of the kneeling Valkyrie, but we are seeing her reflection in his face mask, and her eyes are bugging out a little bit in concern. Hey man, turn the page. That pit sure is pretty much constructed.
Well, this I don't quite understand this pit, because like the pit traditionally has been like Quonset huts, the Camp Greer facade on the top in the desert.
I think this is...
and then you've got a big base underneath. I thought that they were constructing the pit above ground, ready to lower it down.
No, I think what we're seeing here is just a giant gantry elevator. I think the thing on the left and the thing on the right have a giant platform between them that will go up and down to bring up and down jets and jeeps. Anyway, so Mercer's all beaten up. He's got some bandages on him, and those rectangular sticky patch bandages, and he and Risk have a conversation, which may seed a little ground for if Mercer is ever going to become a good guy, as toy history and brand history suggests he must. And at the same time, Mercer is trying to bait Risk into maybe thinking about becoming a bad guy, but I don't think we think that that'll happen. And then the final page,
Job swap.
Excuse me. The next page, right? There's so much happening in this issue. I keep thinking we're at page 19, right? We're going to turn the page and it's over. The next page, which is actually 2019, 18, 17, page 17. This is really fun because this sort of helps line up.
It's recapping where, because we've had people on different missions across this arc. We've had Clutch and Duke off meeting Optimus Prime. We've had Snowjob and Scarlet off in their adventure in issue number 21. And so it's a nice sort of check-in of everyone's, where everyone is, and reminding us of what's been happening across this arc.
This is also a page where the moment I see this page, I know, before I read any of it, I know that it is dealing with different times and places, because the top panel and the three on the right are all this sort of middle grayish blue. But then the panel with Scarlet, look at that background sky and all the white. And then the panel with Optimus, all that orange. And then the flashback panel with Destro on the bottom left, all this pink. And Lee Loughridge does this. But it's even more pronounced here. And the best part of this page is the Baroness revealing that she doesn't entirely trust Hawk, but not going all the way and telling them why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me turn the page, and he's still not dead. We still got 3 more pages.
Yeah. So we've got Crystal Ball being interrogated by Hawk, in inverted commas, and we've got this ginormous shiner of a black eye on him from that punch from Risk, presumably Risk from earlier, and not Hawk having another go at him. Although possibly that bloodied mouth of his might be a new one. And yeah, he's already said that he's been an interrogator before. So I've been in many interrogation rooms in my life. On both sides of the table, you're not getting anything out of me. This one might be a bit different. As he stabs a knife into the table, promising a lot. When does the good cop show up? And then, so he's saying, why are you handling this interrogation? I can't see your rank, Colonel. Isn't this beneath you? Because, damn. And he clutches his face and turns away. And we can see Hawk's face sort of becoming Zartan's. Crystal Ball can't at this point. And he's being a little bit quite forthright, because I need energon. Would Hawk say that? Anyway. So I'll be back, and when I return, you'd better be ready to talk, Crystal Ball. Wait, your voice, I know you. You're the one who tried to steal my technology back from page 2. You are Zartan. And presumably from that angle, you'd think you could also probably see his face in panel 3 of page 19, because his right hand side of his face is the one that is sort of coming apart, and he's stood with his right facing Crystal Ball. Anyway,
then he turns all the way, and he can't.
Turns all the way. You're Zartan. You work with the Dreadnoks. And then he's trying to use his leverage to blackmail him. I don't think he's got the cards here in this power dynamic. Doesn't take a mind reader to know that you're undercover here, using G.I Joe to track down energon. Is that it? How much would G.I Joe pay me to know the truth? And then, good grief, is this the most shocking page turn in G.I Joe history? Question mark. /But.
I mean, if you're asking, no, that's issue 93, Real American Hero. Is this the second or third most? Yes. Because 2 crazy things happen on this page. One, a vicious act of violence that takes a marquee character off the board. And then Baroness sees that 2 things have happened. One, that their prisoner in their care has just been murdered. And it's very clear that it's not like he was trying to escape. He's handcuffed with his hands behind his back. And 2, she can tell that this is not quite Hawk. So 3 things happen on this page in 2 panels, and I love a very violent panel that's just all red, or all one color and the background is all red. And every Energon universe book, when I get to page 19, right, usually the dialogue and the setting is like building me up for it. So I know something's coming, and I'm like, okay, I'm turning the page. This is page 20. Something exciting is going to happen. There's going to be a character or a line of dialogue or a surprise. And I turned the page and I thought, oh my God.
I was not ready for that.
I was not. 2 panels later, right, at the very, very, very end of the book, right, this other compound thing happens where the Baroness sees it, and also this is bad. I mean, okay, so this is where normally it's like, Mark, I bet you issue 25 is going to jump ahead 2 days, and Hawk Zartan's on the run. And no. The first panel of the next page is like them fighting. It is going to be 1 second later, and she's jumping in the air and kicking at him, and he's lunging at her with a bloody knife. Because he has to kill her because she's the witness, and she has to stop him because she's a badass, because she knows that everything is wrong with this scene, and she already didn't trust him.
Yeah, and that face is saying a lot. It's like, what have I just walked into? How do I approach this? What am I meant to think? What am I meant to do? And as with kind of Mercer and his trajectory to joining G.I. Joe, in terms of, you know, what we know of the character of Mercer, what we know of the character of Baroness, is we got this expectation that she's eventually gonna join Cobra, hook up with Destro, and they're toying with these ideas, and this sort of sets you on the path of, is this the breaking point that sets her on that trajectory of going away from G.I. Joe? And certainly we know the next arc is G.I. Joe versus Night Force. So I think it doesn't take necessarily a genius to kind of think ahead to what is the triggering event. And I think we've got it here, that the Joes are going to get set up, or Baroness specifically, the Joes maybe will be set up as being the killers of Crystal Ball, and they're taking things into their hand and sort of acting out of their what is loud.
And Baroness is already, she was already shaken when one of her teammates said, "Oh, by the way, my friend is an alien." And I didn't tell any of you.
Yeah. Michael Jane Fleming here in with an observation. Crystal Ball's going to live. The issue already established that sword and knife attacks from the back are non-lethal. Unfortunately, I don't think Crystal Ball is wearing a bulletproof throat protector or anything like that. Greg observes that in the IDW continuity, Crystal Ball was a high-ranking Inquisitory general. Here he is in the interrogation room with the tables turned, and ends this way. I will be fascinated to see the next sequence of this particular event.
So the only thing that really jumped out at me in the letters page is that someone said you should do a profile book, and they said that's a good idea. And then you were showing those second print covers, and I thought, well, as much as I want new art, they've got all of these great Jason Howard drawings of every character,
with that.
And this may not be Skybound's style to reuse art like that, but I think most people don't have copies of his second print covers with all these single drawing profile characters with no background, and that would be an easy way to do that.
They also hint that there's plans for Firefly that have been figured out, plans for Cobra La, and you should be paying attention to Void Rivals. And they also made the interesting point about Billy. So Billy, Cobra Commander's son from the ARA universe, will he be introduced? And I think essentially the what they're saying is, ARA has done its own thing. Billy was a big part of that continuity and a big part of that overall narrative arc. We don't need to just hit replay on that. Billy can be part of the ARA universe, and we can do our own thing. So I like that ethos that they're not going to be just doing a greatest hits, that they are creating their own story here, and the likes of Billy, that was a character specifically created by Larry Hama for the pages of his comic. He doesn't necessarily have to come back into and play a big part in this one.
All right.
Good. Right. So I've got I created a new jingle, which is just my way of bringing a few thoughts together of once we've explored a particular issue. So I'm just going to give it a try and see how it fits. What do people think? So I'm calling this one a bit the issue wrap up. So, as we wrap up this episode and this issue, what have we learned? Well, if you're the seventh son of the seventh son and have a lot of siblings, that doesn't necessarily mean that you play nicely with others. If you're being interrogated by your nemesis, potentially not the best time to threaten them with blackmail. And if you're walking in on your boss, remember to knock.
And knowing is half the battle.
So coming up soon, explore the Energon universe in the pages of Void Rivals, issue 32, out next week. It's there's a sort of silvery robot guy with a glowing red eye in the background on this particular cover. We've got Pythona and her crew playing a big part. So yeah, if you're into the Pythona story and Cobra La, it's essential reading. Then also coming up will be Mask issue number 3, the next issue of Transformers, and in a month's time we'll also be seeing more of G.I. Joe with issue number 24. 5 out before we know it. So it's going to be arriving August 19th as a double-sized or extra-sized landmark issue. Joe battles Joe, friends become enemies, and the chart-topping team of Joshua Williamson and Tom Riley, plus Andrea Milana returning, kick off the biggest G.I Joe story in Energon universe history, with lots of extra covers, including a spoiler cover from John Boy Myers. My speculation, introduction of a new Night Force character. My speculation number 2, that character is Falcon.
Mark, how many chapters? Can you zoom in on this? There's a little Night Force logo, and it says Night Force Part 1 of, and I can't tell what the number is. Here.
Oh, there on that one of 6, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the arcs are typically 6 issues, so that would make a lot of sense.
Okay. Cool, and we're done.
Yes, we are done. Where can people find you, Tim, when you're not talking to me about G.I. Joe?
Atomic Abe, that's a YouTube channel. Hub Comics, that's my store. A Real American Book, that's my blog, where right now I'm writing and posting about Joe Fest 2026.
And you can find Talking Joe on talkingjoe.co.uk. That is our website. That points us to all of the places we can be found, including our YouTube channel. As at the time of recording, we're still on 1298. 2 people just need to click that subscribe button. So if you're watching and you are not subscribed, hit that button and get us over to 1300 at the bare minimum. Also, directing from our website is a link to our Patreon channel, patreon.com/talkingjoe, where the likes of Richard, Sam, Christopher, Shane, Simon, Joe, Craig, D, Shane V2. This one is unfortunately in an interrogation room, and we won't see him in our Patreon shout-outs next month. I'm kidding. He'll be fine. Patrick, Infinite Entertainment, Gary V, Coldroff B, Squishy, Matt, Edgy B, and Jonathan. They're getting early access to content, exclusives, and a warm glow in their heart, and in some cases, an envelope in their post, as some of our Patreon exclusives were hitting the doormats of our members in this last month, or last week. So, Tim, I think that is us done. But before we go, anything to add?
Yes. Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Laters.
And now you don't know, because not knowing loses half the battle.